Hey guys, it's Austin back with another YouTube video. I debated making this video a little bit later on since I do not intend for this to be the final full lineup of my display, but I figured since I've added on a few new additions since I first put this up the week prior to Memorial Day, I thought I'd try to get a display video out. Now, as some of you who follow my channel may remember, I did repost my patriotic display from last year, which was my inaugural patriotic display. I posted it to my YouTube channel, I think in November, as kind of a, I guess, in-between content upload between like Thanksgiving and Christmas. As you all know, I unfortunately only got one video out of my Thanksgiving display, so I kind of decided to supplement like the lack of those uploads of like my patriotic on my YouTube channel, because I felt as though usually patriotic holidays within the United States, I know some collectors do videos for them, a lot of them don't, but I think a lot of it's due to the fact that Jimmy, which is probably one of the top suppliers of inflatables, typically they haven't made many new models in the past few years, as well as the fact that to usually get models, you had to go to like knockoffs on various different platforms such as Amazon, or like, I know for a fact, as we're going to get into here in a little bit, you might see some in the display, but I also have a few different designs from Air Characters. They're a very much strictly online based brand that's sold through Yard Inflatables, and I picked up a few of those designs. And I will tell you this up front, it probably will not be the last designs I pick up for this holiday specifically, because if you all know me, I love expanding my displays. I have called this one my next project because for the most part, Christmas and Halloween have mostly been maxed with how many I bought last year, but I do have maybe a few more surprises for those displays. But if anything, it'll be a lot more sedate and toned back compared to last year, just because last year for Halloween and Christmas, it's like I blew the top off blew the lid off the jar and such, and I didn't expect to get as many as I ended up getting, but as y'all would see, that would heavily change as the season went on, and maybe to the extent I went a little overboard, but enough chit chat, I'll get to the display. First up, we got the Air Characters Eagle. This was, I think, my second or my third one last year. I also got it in the, like, off of Yard Inflatables with the American flag. Overall, I'd say among the Air Characters designs I have right now, I either think this one's my favorite, the Patriotic Bear, or I'd say maybe the Heart with the two Uncle Sam hats, but right now it's kind of difficult for me to say. Plus, there's another design that I'm heavily looking to put into my display that could beat all those in an instant, but like I said, we'll save that for when that day comes. But for now, I'd say in terms of Eagle designs, this one might be one of my favorites. I know there's a lot of knockoff companies, like I was mentioning previously, that have done different Eagle concepts, but I think with this one, I think it just displays all that courage in the American spirit, and you've also got a very, straightforward look, and doesn't really, I mean, yeah, it's got a bit of a cartoony look to it, but overall, I'd say it's very, very much what you would envision an eagle would look like, aside from the fact, obviously, most eagles will not have the American flag emblem on their body. But I'd say in terms of just models, this definitely has to be at the top of my list of my favorite renditions of the bald eagle that I've seen in an inflatable form, for sure. Next up, we have the Occasions 12-foot tall Uncle Sam that was sold at Menards last year, also better known as Airflows. And like I said, I know a lot of people, I know some of the collectors especially, they like to knock on Airflows quite a bit as being, the secondary company to Jimmy, like they are the quote-unquote other company. But I will say these have held up pretty well on my display, especially since I've got this one in the 20-footer, which, like I said, we'll get to in a minute. But overall, this one, I mean, it's held up well, albeit I know last year I kind of displayed it in the best spot in my yard, and it got a lot of sun, which faded its color. And I mean, you could tell in the daytime it's definitely received some fade. But overall, I think, and for the fact that this one, I kind of have some sentimental attachment to this one as well, because this was my very first patriotic inflatable, and this is what started this whole love obsession of mine for adding to this display and continuing just to push and push and push to add more and such. So I gotta really give some props to this guy, because this guy was what got it all started. And I know this one for sure, at least its predecessor, the original, is a fan favorite. But I do have the 2021 re-release of the Jimmy American Flag, widely regarded as probably one of the original patriotic inflatables. I think it is, actually. I'm not 100% sure, as like I said, I've just started collecting patriotic last year's, but I know this is what a lot of people point to as the original. But I will say the one critique I do have of this one is I really wish Jimmy would have put more C7s in like the red, like the striped area on the flag, because as you can see, I'm having to use a red LED spotlight on it to light the backup on it, and I really wish, like the old flag, they would have put C7s in this. Granted, I know Jimmy has kind of cheaped out a little bit on their lights and their features in the past years, but I mean, if they were going to do a tribute to this, they ought to have at least gave it some lights in the back of the flag. But that's just a small critique. Overall, I think the inflatable is definitely a good tribute to the original flag, although I do kind of miss the old font and lettering on the bottom. But in general, for it being the only Jimmy in my patriotic display, I will say it definitely is a nice nod to the past for sure. And what many could argue is the star attraction, the 20-foot tall air character, not air characters, air flows Uncle Sam. I'm probably going to screw that up many times during this talk, but what can I say? I love that Menards design of that 12-foot so good. I couldn't resist getting the 20-foot whenever it went on sale, I should say. But it definitely has been a nice design to have in the display. I don't know. I've really been fascinated with air characters. I keep on saying air characters. Air flows. I've been really fascinated with air flows, inflatable designs over the past year. I mean, for the people that follow my channel, you obviously know I got the 20-foot tall Frankenstein, which is also made by Occasions and air flows as well. Caught myself there, but yeah, definitely one of my favorite designs, I think, in the display. It's got some stiff competition in the display that's coming up with the new additions, but I definitely think this is one that I hope to have around for a long, long time. And I've even said, like, if those cheap fans on the back of this thing ever go out, I'd probably go as far as to modify it with another fan just to keep it alive and such. But in general, definitely, I think a showstopper. And I mean, it's like I said, in the world that we live in where Jimmy don't make too many patriotic designs, where there might even be some years they don't make patriotic designs, period, you're probably not going to see too many Colossal ones aside from Halloween and Christmas, and even more rare that you're going to find a Colossal for a holiday like, Memorial Day or 4th of July, which make these inflatables so versatile for sure. This is actually one of the brand new ones that I just got in today. This is, for a lot of people, I know they'll say like, oh, it's not the original. Oh, it's not like, one of the legacy Jimmy designs. But I gotta say, for an air character's design, it's making an argument to be one of the better air character designs, because for one, it lights up really well. I mean, obviously the stars are not really visible because they're printed on, but in general, I really will say I like this ribbon. It looks really beautiful. I mean, obviously the collector side of me wants to go back and think like, if I could ever find to support the troops ribbon, that might be in my future to pick a retro up maybe. But I mean, you also think about, the classic Uncle Sam that's holding the banner that says like Happy 4th of July and such, which is also a classic. I know a lot of collectors toss around when they talk about, the classics and, the retros and vintage. But I would say for this one being, I guess the quote-unquote the knockoff of those two other ribbon designs, I think Jimmy in total made 2 or 3 of these, I think, because they have the Support the Troops, and then they also have God Bless the USA, and they may have a plain one like this one. But overall, I think, if you're looking for just an all-around good fit in your display, especially if you want to, give tribute to the military, this is definitely a nice pickup for sure. get it off of Yard Inflatables for like $75. So I mean, not an advert, but I really am a loyal customer to Yard Inflatables, and I got to shout them out in this video for sure. Also, another one of my newest pickups that I just got in today, along with the ribbon. I also got the I think it's the 2021 shipment of the Jimmy, well, not the Jimmy, but the Air Characters Patriotic Bear. Kind of caught myself there because there actually is a shorter Jimmy design that looks a lot like this. And I also happen to know there's another one that is also got like more, I think, like a black tuxedo on, and I think it's called the Presidential Bear, but I'm not 100% sure if that's exactly what the title of it is. But in doing research on like just classic inflatables for the patriotic season, this is definitely one of the ones that I'm glad has a, I guess, spiritual successor to it, even though it ain't the original company who made it. But I will say I do love what Air Characters and Yard Inflatables did with this design. Even more happy too, and this is something that I caught in the Inflatable Bastards video last year during his review. This flag, it originally didn't come like his, well, maybe his didn't, but I also caught this like when I was opening it up and getting it out of the bag, I mean the box today. But I was looking at it and I was like, wait a minute, this flag, wasn't this like one like in his video, like it was like undone? And sure enough, I don't know if maybe Yard Inflatables caught it after his review or not, but the flag used to be hanging down in front of it, whereas it's supposed to be like this as it was on the original. And I'm glad they fixed that too, because I was kind of like, you know, thinking about like, oh yes, I want to get this one, but God, it's going to have that American flag defect, and that's going to not look too good, so I might have to, you know, sew it or modify it myself. But thankfully they did fix that, and I am glad. It's kind of like one of those reasons, like, you know, glad to see it in a review the year before, and then you end up with the improved version. So definitely like this one. I think it's definitely up there in my favorite Air Character designs so far, with like the eagle and the heart and such. But definitely glad I picked this up. By the way, you can still get this one for like $65. Like, they're still doing you buy any other item on Yard Inflatables, you can get this for $10 off. So I think definitely if you want to pay homage to an original patriotic design, this is definitely a good one if you cannot pick that one up. But I do know you can pick the original up. That's still 8 feet tall. Like, and I think I saw a few on eBay listed and a few other ones, but this is definitely a good pick in my opinion, because it inflates really tightly, and the design in my opinion is just as good, and you can probably get it a little bit cheaper as well. Okay, let's address what I might call the elephant in the room. I will say I love this archway design, but goodness gracious, is the fan on it weak. And I've already said that this one, I'm probably going to have to get a pull-out fan to modify it, because if I were to get up close to it, and I might do it in a day view before I modify it, but that left column where the Uncle Sam that's holding the flag, plus, pardon the lighting on it, but that thing inflates not strong enough, and I need to put another fan up in that leg. So I might be hitting up Yard Inflatables for a replacement fan here soon to modify this. Now, if you guys remember back to last year, I did have the Uncle Sam archway, which I think was done by either Insta Life or Inflate Festival, but unfortunately that one came into like a shorting issue. I've yet to try that one with a new adapter, but I don't think that one's going to be fixable. And that's, like I said, I wanted to go to the trouble of modifying it with a new fan, which I think to preserve my investment on this one, I'm probably going to modify this one first. And if this one doesn't work under modification, I'm probably going to try to modify that one, maybe get it fixed. But I mean, don't get me wrong, the design is nice. Like, I mean, I love the fireworks and the stars. I do kind of have my own reservations that the Uncle Sam should have had a white LED light in it versus a red, because I think that's very, very difficult to see from the road, but to each their own. And I think in terms of design, I mean, I even love the fireworks over here too with the USA and the stars and stripes. It's just, I wish they would have put a better fan in this, like whoever the knockoff company who made this was. But like I said, more than likely going to modify it though too. Okay, I'll be nice to Amazon and their knockoffs a little bit in this one. I will say this is definitely, I'd say if maybe not the most, I guess, unique one in the display, because it's not made by, you know, anybody like Yard Inflatables or anything. This is definitely one I think, you know, it's held up really well, and it goes to prove that all Amazon knockoffs are not terrible. They are, I mean, I know we kind of tend to knock on people that get those, or like, well, not really knock on the people, but knock on like the companies who make these. But I will say this is pretty close to the Yard Inflatables Air Characters version, and it looks pretty good, up in my opinion, as well. I mean, you can't ever go wrong with like Lady Liberty. She's one of the many symbols of the United States, and I think the only, like I said, the critique you can, if you could give a critique to this one, it's like maybe her torch in her hand could be lit, which, I mean, that's a small complaint, but I mean, for that to be the only problem, and that she inflates strong, she stands up well, I mean, I can't really complain too much about this one compared to the Archway over here, which I just recently acquired. But for sure, I think she definitely defies the logic that all Amazon knockoff cheap fans are bad, which, I mean, I'm not even saying that myself, but I'm just saying it really defies the odds for sure. And I gotta say, this is probably my favorite projection on any wall of the house currently. I love the shape projector. And this is probably my favorite shape slot to put in it too, because I just love that heart, the fireworks, and the USA. It just looks stellar. Speaking back to the air characters, this is definitely, I think, a very underrated design. I know Yard Inflatables hasn't currently got any restocks of this. I really hope they do get another shipment this year, but I think where it kind of lagged off in the sales last year, which I think has also been kind of the case with the bear, that just so many people have bought it that they're really, like I said, as niche-y as, you know, patriotic decorators are anymore. This is kind of one that might get overlooked, but I think the design is really, really cool. I mean, I love the heart. I think that's very fresh and new. We've also got the tiny Uncle Sam hats, and I cannot say this enough about any of the patriotic designs on Yard Inflatables as the air characters. I love their Uncle Sam hat designs. They are just so well done. They are just so well, the color palette is perfect. I mean, it looks just like it came off of Uncle Sam's head, no pun intended and such. But I would say this definitely is a contender for my favorite design of the air characters designs. It's between this, the bear, or the eagle. No shade to the ribbon, but I mean, I'm not even from a shade of air characters. I love the air characters designs. These are the perfect replacement for Jimmy not making any of these inflatables in this category in the past few years, at least not many noteworthy ones. But I definitely, I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of air characters, if you cannot tell by the way I'm, you know, complimenting them and such. Because, I mean, they are pretty darn close to Jimmy's quality. And I would be remiss if I didn't look at this one and say, at first I kind of thought I was getting the Jimmy patriotic dog, but believe it or not, actually, this is a knockoff. I'd not expected. I mean, I kind of, when I opened up the box and saw it didn't have tether attachments for cords on it, I was like, yeah, it definitely ain't a Jimmy, because if it was a Jimmy design, it would have had tether attachments on its side to put cords in the ground. But overall, I can say it's a really nice inflatable. My mom picked this up for me from, I think it was Hobby Lobby, and it's so far been a very, very nice one. I've really liked the design. I've came around to the design as I've seen it in the yard next to my heart and everything, but overall, I think it looks really good. And I think, too, for anybody who collects inflatables, if you got the Jimmy version of this one, I think it'd be kind of cool to, you know, pair like that air characters like Patriotic Dog holding the banner inflatable. I've seen that one, and I've even considered that one along with my next purchases. But to be continued on this guy, I might actually give him a companion over here with that air character's dog. But I think definitely for a patriotic display, he's a very good pickup at least. Either him or the Jimmy will do, I think. Well, that's my 2024 Patriotic display so far. I do hope to add a few more in. I know another kind of elephant in the room I was going to address is like, why is my lower line not as long past the eagle and such? Well, last year I did do some inflatables down there back whenever too. I also had some more shade from my tree from where like one of those top limbs. And unfortunately it proved to be very, very bad for wear and bad for like fading and thinning on some of my inflatables. So that eagle is where my shade line ends on the tree, so I didn't put any more down that way, because if they're behind the house or they're down underneath the tree, like up to where that ribbon is, they are going to be safe from fading. But past any of those points or vantages, you're probably going to be risking fading. So I've decided not to put any down below that eagle, whereas in the fall and Christmas I would do some down there, because at the time the sun is not near as bad during those times. But during the daytime, during the summer, it can be very, very bad for the inflatables to sustain a lot of sunlight, especially as bright with this red, white, and blue as these are. But anyway, for YouTube, comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. I hope to get a day view out here soon, very soon.